Welcome back to the Sales Leader Show. Joining me today is James Thompson. He's a strategic account executive at DigitalRoute. He's worked for companies like AbacusNext, Benevity, Chargebee, and now, of course, DigitalRoute. He is also a founding member of the SaaS Sales Society, which is an exclusive club for insatiably curious million-dollar and enterprise account executives. He's closed the largest deal in North American Chargebee history and has been the recipient of many awards, including Highest Total Annual Contract Value, Partner Channel Champion of the Year, and the Annual Outstanding Performance Award. And today, we're going to learn how he has made his career choices and stayed at the top of his game. James, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks, Robert. Thanks for having me.
That's awesome, man. I'm so excited. Appreciate you coming on. When we were talking in our previous conversation, well, first we actually connected because I saw a post of yours on LinkedIn, and I was really inspired by it because you actually turned down an offer from what sounded like a great company because they didn't offer enough PTO. So, tell me a little bit about that decision and kind of what led up to it.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's kind of a crazy thing. I mean, it was a toss up between two companies at that point. And, this is a company I had multiple constructive conversations with the COO. I was very excited about the product. They had a number of products, I think 4 products, one flagship product that was doing really well. The management team seemed great, right? And I get the offer, and it's right in line with what I was expecting, both base and OTE. So I kind of took a glance at it, didn't think much of it. Nighttime came around, showed it to my wife, and she starts reading the fine print. And, halfway through the contract, she looks up at me and she goes, "This is not going to work for us." And I said, "What do you mean?" And she said, "Well, they only offer 10 days of PTO and it's accrued." And she said, "Did you know that? Have they brought that up?" And I said, "Well, no, interestingly enough,
Yeah.
I said, that's not going to work. I mean, that's just insane, right? I'm almost 40 years old. I want to spend more time with family as I get older. And that type of PTO is just non-negotiable at this point. It needs to be a little bit more. So I took an offer with DigitalRoute that gives me 20 days instead of 10, which is much better.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And was there any anxiety surrounding that decision, or was it just a hard nope,
It's a hard
this is
no.
not gonna work? Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Because what it told me was that there's some red flags there, right? I mean, sure, people are saying, well, you could have gone and negotiated that with management. But for me, it told me what management was already like, right? Like if you're going to control that amount of limited PTO, if you're going to kind of give me that amount, I just feel like I can do better. And I just don't want to be part of an environment where that's something that they're not going to tell me about during the recruiting cycle, right? I mean, I just feel like they've already lost a lot of talent because of that. I was told later on, and so that should have been something that they were upfront with, rather than having me go through the whole song and dance. And so it was a hard no for me.
Wow, that's amazing. I think sometimes, like, sometimes I'm a bit of a go with the flow guy in certain scenarios, and I've started changing that in the last couple of years because I think I get walked on a little bit too much sometimes. But that's impressive. I think, when it's such an attractive company in all other respects, it seems like, at least based on the post, and that was just like a no problem. Now, obviously, you have a great resume. You had other options and things like that, which is nice. But um, is that something that's always been the case for you? Where, like, let's say it was low PTO and you're just thinking, no, this is not acceptable, or is it sort of more recent?
No, definitely more recent. Early in my career, I would have been really stoked at this opportunity,
Right.
but now that I have a 3-year-old daughter and I want to take vacations more and more and just have moments with my family, um, then it's really important that the company I choose is aligned with that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this made me think about sort of the way I thought about companies, the relationship between me and my employer in the past. And in my early years of my career, I felt one down from my employer, meaning I felt like they had more leverage. They kind of got to tell me what to do, and it probably would have scared me to either turn down an offer based on that, or maybe even to go back and negotiate and say, "Hey, listen, what's the deal with this?" Um,
Hmm.
is that something you ever felt, or have you always been a little bit more assertive than maybe me in my early years?
No, I think on par with that. If you don't have, you know, if you're younger and you don't have the proven track record, right, you're not getting a lot of offers. And so, yeah, it would have scared me too. And frankly, I didn't really know how to negotiate these type of things a long time ago, right? You just meet people along your journey that tell you that these things are negotiable, and this is sort of how you do
Right.
it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So
That
I'm
makes
with you.
sense. Yeah, yeah, no, I get that. Well, obviously, you mentioned your daughter, your wife, and PTO. Obviously, a big reason for that is to spend time with family. So, family is very important to you, it seems like. And
Mhm.
um, is family the only thing that kind of keeps you motivated to sort of achieve high levels of success, or at least of effort in sales? Or is there anything else that sort of drives you as well?
Yeah, I kind of have a chip on my shoulder that makes me want to prove others wrong. Throughout my childhood, I wasn't getting a ton of guidance from my folks, Robert. So, this led me to being expelled from 2 high schools. I was seeking validation from others since I wasn't getting it at home. And the second expulsion was due to selling pot on campus. So I only did that for 4 days. So you can confidently call me the world's worst drug dealer. But I remember going to my mom's house after this happened, and my parents were divorced, and I took the train to Carlsbad, went to her house, and she kind of kicked me out of the house. And this was a time when I kind of really needed her most, and it was really hurtful at the time. And I won't get into the details, but I just remember taking the train back from Carlsbad to my dad's house in Fullerton and feeling all kinds of emotions. I was 17 years old at the time. And I felt this sort of overwhelming sadness. And I never wanted to feel like that again. So with it, that was kind of my rock bottom. Fortunately, it was early, and it was because I sold pot for 4 days, and it wasn't like it wasn't anything worse. But um,
Yeah.
2 weeks later, I had 2 jobs. I had a job at Disneyland, working in Toontown at Daisy's Hot Dogs and Daisy's Pizzas and Pluto's Hot Dogs, making 773 an hour. So um,
Nice.
yeah, and then I had another job at Blockbuster, making minimum wage. So pre Netflix days. Uh, and I enrolled in high school on the side to finish my credits up, and also enrolled in junior college. So I just filled my plate, and the rest is history. I graduated from UC Irvine and have been running away from that feeling of overwhelming sadness, I guess, ever since. So
Yeah, man. I think a lot of people can relate to that. Obviously, circumstances are different, but gosh, I mean, I can't imagine how you felt on that bus ride back. Because let me ask you this: Were you when you sold pot for 4 days? Man, you really didn't know how to get away with it.
no.
But but like when you started doing that, right? Was that something that was like in your mind? Was that you going down the wrong path, or were you just kind of like having fun, or what were your thoughts around that before you got busted?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a way to achieve quick money. And my dad kept telling me to get a job while I was in high school, right? So, did you send an application at Ralph's yet, or
Yeah,
and so it was an easy way for me to kind of have quicker money. And of course, it didn't work out. And not only did it not work out, but I got caught. And it wasn't just a sort of slap on the wrist, you're expelled, get caught. I mean, it was They gave me intent to sell on campus. So here I am a month away from being 18, and I could have been charged with a felony. I mean, it was a very serious thing back then. So I got 3 years of formal probation. It was a whole ordeal, and it was kind of like a Scared Straight episode, right? But a little bit
Yeah,
lighter than
yeah,
that, right? So,
yeah.
but I'd be working out in the basement of my dad's house, just thinking of going to jail, and they were probably
Right,
all in on it. Like, it's not going to happen with him,
right,
but
right.
yeah,
Wow, that's crazy, man. I can't imagine what that would be like. So, okay, so that's got to fuel you a little bit, obviously. Now, do you still feel like you're running away from that at times? Is that still something that's with you? Meaning running away from that feeling of
absolutely.
sadness? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me about that. How does that affect you in sales?
It's more of just a fear of failure. Like, I always want to feel like I'm giving it my all. And I can look at myself confidently and go, okay, I did what I wanted to do today, you know.
Yeah.
So I think that's how it translates.
Mhm.
It used to be, well, I want to prove this person wrong and this person wrong and show these people that I'm not the old person that I used to be, right? Um,
Mhm.
Now it's very different. It's me versus me.
Mm.
So, um, just if I can stand in my own truth and my ladder of success is leaning on the right wall, I think I'm okay with that.
That's a transformation right there, though. You just said, and the before it was more about, proving to other people, right? But now
Yeah,
it's you versus you. It's standing in your own truth. I think that's highly relevant to the reason why that little PTO it was not a difficult decision to say no to that,
sure.
because you're like, no, this is my values. I'm not going to, I'm not going to let those go for someone else. Like, this is what I care about. Um, was there a moment, or was there a transformation that was intentional that happened that took you from, I care what other people think more, to just really having a more healthy relationship with that?
Um, I don't know if it was just like one thing. It's a good question. I think it was just a number of things that happened in my life along the way. You know,
Mm.
um, in my mid 20s, the stock market crashed. I was a commodity broker, so
Oh, yeah.
I go from making six figures to working for Greenpeace for $13 an hour for like a year.
Wow.
So
That
there
hurts.
was just there was like a lot of things that happened along the way that just knocked me down a peg,
Mm.
and so I think you know everybody goes through that, right? They have a story, and it's about what you do with what happens to you, not about what happens to you necessarily.
Yeah.
I I feel like this is like my fourth cliche that I've thrown out there on this podcast, but
It's funny though. It's funny because as I mature in my life, I start to realize that, have you ever done this where, like a cliche, right? We all nod our heads to cliches. It's like someone says it, we're like, sure, yeah, of course, whatever. We sort of take it for granted. But then there sometimes comes a moment where, for me, I get it. I get what that cliche really means, even though I always kind of got it. But like, for some reason, it
yeah, yeah,
clicks and it means something to me.
yeah.
So I think, cliches kind of come across cheesy when they haven't clicked for you. But I think they can be very meaningful as
I
well.
agree, 100%. Oh yeah, I took a Tony Robbins seminar. It cost me like $1,000 a long time ago when I didn't have it, but it was really worth it. He was full of cliches, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
No,
that
that's
was.
hilarious. That's awesome. Yeah, man. Well, I'm curious. So it seems like you're driven by at least a few things, right? Family is core. Um, Getting better, right? Doing your best effort each day,
Hmm.
running from that feeling of sadness, right? How did
Right? Yeah.
yeah. How did you find well, yeah, how did you find your drive? Like, is it something that came to you, or is it something you intentionally discovered?
I think it just came to me. I don't know. Just a little story. So when I was 18, I was in junior college. I didn't know what I wanted to do yet. I wasn't even sure I was a good student, right? Like I was good at a couple of classes like along the way when I was in high school, just because, you can tell probably by now I'm a decent writer, right? Sometimes I write things on LinkedIn and the amount of people like it, right? So there's that. But
I'm one of them. I love your posts. They're amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So but they always say just surround yourself with people who are brighter than you and who are motivated. So I had this friend, his name is Amar, who just came to me one day. We were actually hanging out in my backyard at my dad's house in Fullerton. He said, "You know what, man? I'm just done with all the going out." And he goes, "You can continue to hang out with me or not, because at this point I don't really care." He goes, I'm just gonna study. And that's what I'm gonna do. And at this point, I didn't even know that I was like going to be good at school. Like I had to learn how to learn, right? Like when I got into junior college, I think I got into like math 15, which is like the lowest math class. So,
Wow.
And he's telling me this, and I'm going, gosh, it was kind of an epiphany where I'm going, well, I there's no way I want to work with my hands the rest of my life, right?
Right.
So I feel like I can, let me just see how this school thing goes if I really put an effort into it. So I did, and obviously you get more opportunities when you have a degree. So
Yes, absolutely.
yeah. So we had a lot of
That's
all-nighters and we had fun doing it. So it was fine.
Well, that's an interesting point because your buddy, when he came to you, I mean, was that super impactful at that time? Like when he came to you and said, "Hey, listen, I'm done with this partying or
Yeah,
whatever."
because there just wasn't a lot of people around my life like that were just that motivated. Right.
Hey, we're going to actually cut it off right there. I know it's a bit of a cliffhanger, you guys, but we had some technical difficulties at this point in the conversation. And don't worry, we got it all figured out, and there's going to be a part 2. It ended up working out perfect because the total conversation went longer than I was planning, and it ended up being an incredible conversation. So please check out the next episode for part 2 with James Thompson.